Bongani Fassie, the one and only child of the late famous Brenda Fassie. It is said that his relationship with his mother is likened to the one of Kanye and his mother, that son and mother kind of relationship where he was basically getting groomed by his mother into greatness. And when his mother got to pass away, he says that his distribution account was supposed to amount to 25 million, which he was basically swindled of. So Bongani Fassie on the episode of I Blew It, he basically says that when his mother passed away, he knew nothing about an estate account. All he knew was that he had no mother and that he was alone. And he says that's when the devil crept in, or that's when the devil saw these opportunity to slide into his life. He says that right after the funeral, right after his mother's funeral, he got a call from this guy who said he was a music exec. And he says that this music exec said that he wanted to meet up with him. And Bongani was, like giving out his address to this music exec. And this music exec was basically like, no, like I know where you stay. So a few moments later, that music producer, I should say, was at his house and basically promised him heaven and earth and told him that basically told Bongani everything that he wanted to hear, promised him that he was going to help him with his music and all of that, and basically offered Bongani to move into his own house where Bongani actually moved in. And I'm just like thinking to myself, like, how do you meet someone like manje, like you meet someone like now, like after your mother's funeral, and they promising you heaven and earth, and you just move into that person's house, like you don't know the person, you don't have any point of reference, like I didn't get that. But anyway, remember guys, he was going through a rough patch in his life, as he says that he didn't have no mother and he felt all alone. So I guess the one thing that made sense to him at that point was his music career, and someone was telling him the right things and telling him about that music career. And I guess he ran with it. He said that he moved in with the guy, and the guy even got to an extent where he appointed himself as his legal guardian. Now, guys, if you know anything about Bongani Fassie and stuff that has been going on in the media about him, I think you are well aware of who this music exec is, of who this music producer is. He is a famous guy. I don't want to get myself into trouble, so I'm not going to mention any names, because you know what? Yeah. So anyway, Bongani says he trusted this guy with everything, and he was the one who even paid for his initiation school. So at that time, one of Bongani's priorities was to go to initiation school. So he trusted the guy with everything. The guy paid for his initiation school. And he said that this guy actually was the one who orchestrated the gathering of the people who are going to handle his mother's estate for him. And anytime Bongani would like ask about, okay, like what's going on with the estate accounting, everything like that, the guy would keep telling Bongani not to focus on the estate and to focus on his music career, because the estates would only be sorted out in 11 to 12 years time from that time, and which is actually what he did. One thing he said, guys, that really like just caught me off guard in a sense. And I was just like, that's a really cruel. He said that the record label provided everything for him. The record label would buy everything for him and got him anything that he wanted. But whenever he'd get anything that he wanted from the record label, he would sign for it. So if Bongani said, listen, I need a new flat, I feel like the flat that I'm living in is too small, the music exec, his music producer, will be like, you know what? Say no more. I'm going to get you the flat. Just sign here. So he was signing these stuff, and he was just thinking that the record label was basically providing all of these things for him. He would get like 600,000 rands from this record label, and the first thing he would do with that money is to pay an entourage. He would book venues, book women to come in I don't know what. I guess bringing woman into events. I guess the woman bring the vibe. I guess we bring the vibe. He would pay women to come there, bring in his guys, buy booze. And it is said that the bill would come up to like 150,000 rands for a day. Now imagine in a month. And mind you guys, this was a while back. So 150,000 rands in a day was a lot, unlike today, because today, like, it's a very common thing for some men to spend like 150,000 on a table in a club. And then he says that he bought a BMW, which was the latest version at the time of the 320D. He said he paid 370K for that. He said that basically what would happen is that he would hop around renting places. He would hop around renting places. Like, that's the cruelty in it for me. That why didn't you guy, what, like, as the music producer, why didn't you buy this guy, or at least like encourage this guy to buy a house? Instead, like, Ubongani was renting from one place to another place, and he says Ubongani over 3 years he spent around 700,000 just on the renting over 3 years. And he eventually found a girlfriend, which is his current girlfriend. With the last time I checked, they were dating. I don't know if they're still together, but she says when she met him, like, this guy like would want to impress her so much that he even bought her like shoes for 48,000 rand. So already you can tell that Ubongani was splurging money, you guys, and he was buying people's company because clearly it just looks like he was so lonely that he never ever wanted to be alone. And he was an extremist, and everybody would get something. When he was around, everybody would get something. People would even say that he just, gather hobos, take them out on a shopping spree, buy them groceries, which is a nice thing. But to meet each and every second person and to splurge money on them, like, it's just giving vibes of like, I don't know, desperate for people's praises, or I don't know. But apparently, his mother, Brenda Fassie, was an extremist, just like him, that she splurged money and she spent money on people as well. Now, if you're asking, just like me, where was the family while everything was happening like this? The uncle, who was one of the people or the guests who they were interviewing, basically said that Bongani basically gave his family a current, meaning that Bongani basically kind of sidelined himself from his family. And Bongani says that basically all of these things were being bought for him in a sense, right? That the money that would come in his pocket would just be money for him to like buy on booze, buy on, that's what he says. And he says that he didn't have, because when the money came in his hand, there were so many people who were cutting away from this money. It was his friends, acquaintances, or someone that was just like eating his money, that he didn't have enough money to send back home to Cape Town, which is his grandmother's house. And for me, it just sounds like an excuse, because I'm just like, if you could spend, like, if you could get like hobos and like go and buy them like groceries and buy all of them like clothing, that means that you did have cash to send to your grandmother, but you just didn't prioritize that. Your grandmother's family, but you just did not prioritize that. He said that he would tell his music producer to send money to the family in Cape Town. His uncle says basically that money, he didn't say how much it was, but he says that that money which they received from the music producer was nothing in comparison to the amounts that he heard Bongani was spending in a day. And the uncle says that when he heard who the music producer was, he kept telling Ubongani that this guy is no good for you. Cut him off, cut him off, cut him off, like change him. He's eating your money and all of that. And Bongani's uncle basically believes that had Bongani put his family, his own family, close by to him, none of these things would have happened, or at least he would have not been played the way he was played, or because he did not put his family close. And I don't know, you guys, because it's a tricky one, because some family will eat your money like that. They don't care whether you are blood, whether you're what. They'll be the ones who will be like, ushering you into your demise. So I really don't know whether it truly was a thing of he did not have family around, but the uncle does seem kind of genuine. He says that he was close to Brenda and Brenda valued his opinion. And he feels like his nephew did not do that. And that's why everything happened the way it happened. Anyway, Bongani kept on splurging money, not worrying where this money is really coming from. It got to a point where he moved into a place where he was renting the place for an amount of 70K. And I was like, that's crazy on its own. And he says in that bigger house, everyone lived there. So anyone who wanted a place to live basically could live there. And people had their own rooms. They were living for free. Groceries is free. Everything was free. And I'm just like, everyone was just taking him for a ride. And that's when he was introduced to narcotics. And he said that he spent over 4 million, you guys, over 4 million just on narcotics. It eventually got to a point where Bongani felt like he always did not have money. So he was starting to see what his uncle was saying. I guess other people were also starting to say that, bro, you are working so hard that this money that you're spending right now and that you get is nothing in comparison to what you actually deserve. So he actually then resigned from that record label, and when he actually resigned, that's when he actually found out that yes, indeed, the record label was actually documenting every single bill, every single thing, right? From the parties he went out to, the water, the drinks, everything. They were documenting everything. And he says that he spent around 15 million. So guys, the record label they basically claimed 15 million out of all of these things. He thought that maybe, I don't know if he thought he was getting paid from like the life he was living, if it was funded by his hard work. And it was funded out of the fact that his producer knew that they would claim this money because he had an estate. So 15 million was claimed from his estate, you guys, or 15 million was claimed from the record label, and they were entitled to it. Listen, he signed for everything. And he says that 20% of the royalties was also claimed, 20% of Brenda Fassie's royalties, which was due to Ubongani, was claimed by the record label. He says there was also a house, I guess that was his mother's house, which was, I'm not so sure if it's his mother's house. They really did not mention whether it was his mother's house or his house, but according to my understanding, he didn't get to buy any house. But he says there was a house that they had to retail for 1 million, and he only got 200K from the selling of that house. And again, 20% of whatever was sold were still due to the record label. Guys, and that's basically how Ubongani blew his mother's estate money. Quite sad, if I might say so myself, quite sad that it just looks like everyone saw an opportunity, and a lot of people, including people within the entertainment industry, were just sucking on him. And when things were really bad for him and he was down and out, majority of the people were nowhere to be found. But that's a lesson, you guys. Like, keep the people who are close to you close. Don't let money fool you into thinking that people were suddenly around just because of money, or suddenly like they love you. But anyway, guys, tell me what you think about this. Please do make sure that you like the video. Please do subscribe. It is absolutely for free of charge, and I'll see you on the next one.